Okay, welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast from the dorms in Scranton, New York. Marius Angelin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about Gothenburg hockey and your background and how you came over via Frolunda, and then little comparison, Swedish juniors versus USPHL, NCDC, and North American Hockey League, and where it's going to go for you. But you got an interesting background for sure. So, and I can't remember. I think I was contacting you. I poached you a little bit because I was doing this kind of project, Swedish players that are playing juniors here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I connected with you a little bit and finally got you on.
Yeah, finally. Took a while, but here I am.
Yeah. So let's tell everybody that perhaps the Swedish people where you are sitting now, and so they can look you up on Google Maps.
Yeah, right now I'm in Scranton, in between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. A little place called Pittston.
Yeah.
I'm in a dorm right now, living here and playing for Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights in the NCDC. So that's where I'm right now.
Yep. And for those who don't know, 6'1", 185 defenseman, originally from Backen outside of Gothenburg. So let's take us back where you started. Where is Backen, for those who don't know?
Backen is located in Gothenburg, Sweden, in the west part of the city. And I started playing there when I was 6 years old, and I stayed with Backen for pretty much all the way up to my first G20 year.
Yep.
I made the move to Mölndal to play in the G20 regional. Yeah, I've been always a Backen guy, I'd say. Always been loving it there and having a great time, great memories, and yeah.
I think there's been, and I have to look back who else we had on from Backen, but it's going to take me too long to look at it. But I know we had some other people, because later on we'll talk about our initiative with Target Aid through Klubben i mitt hjärta. And I think it was, it may have been Wiklund that played in Frölunda.
I think he's from Lerum, if I'm not wrong.
He's from Lerum, okay, yeah. But explain, let's talk a little bit about the Gothenburg region, because you got a lot of course, Frölunda is the big club there that is the SHL and the #1 spot. And they've been doing a phenomenal job. And they're sucking up all the talent. And you got all these feeder programs like Backen, Mölndal, Lerum. Who else is there?
I'd say Hanhals is a big club.
Segeltorp is in Stockholm. What's there's some of these smaller clubs that are all over Gothenburg, but Frölunda's so growing up there, is Frölunda the team that everybody pulls for?
Yeah, for sure. If you're not a Frölunda fan, you're not from Gothenburg, pretty much. Everybody cheers for Frölunda, the SHL team. And as a hockey player, I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for everyone. When you start up in one of these smaller clubs, you love it, and you're always excited to play against Frölunda. Nothing special, really, when you're younger, but everybody had the same dream. At the age of U18, you wanted to make the move to Frölunda. Everybody wants to play for Frölunda pretty much when you're from Gothenburg, and that's the team you want to make pretty much, and to be in that academy.
So of course, since we're on the tail end here of this World Juniors that was in Gothenburg and played in Scandinavium and what's the other?
Frölunda. Yeah.
So did you grow up going to Frolunda games, SHL games when you were younger? Because it's a special place. I've never actually been there because we had Leksand, and why go anywhere else if you want to go watch hockey?
Yeah. I grew up watching like the SHL team, and then from time to time, as I got older, I went to some of the junior games in Frolunda as well. And but the SHL team is such a big
Yeah.
team, and like.
So so let's talk a little bit about your journey. So I don't see in your profile TV puck tournament.
No, that's I didn't make.
But I'm sure you were chasing it and were part of the tryouts and all that stuff like everybody else.
Yeah. Our year, the O3s actually won the tournament, which was we had a stacked couple of guys coming from Gothenburg area from the O3s, and I made the first like selection of people from every club pretty much in Gothenburg. Selected, I think, up to 8 people from different places or different clubs, and then we had some tryouts, and then they cut the whole region down to 35 players or something like that, and I made that team, and we were 35 for pretty much a whole season until leading up to TV-pucken, where they cut the last 10 people, and I was one of the guys who got cut. But at the time, I wasn't one of the guys who should have been playing in that tournament. I was still small and unmature as a player, so I pretty much knew I wasn't making that team.
Yeah. So how does that prepare you for? Because the next step in your development is going to be hockey gymnasium, and so of course, if you're a Frölunda guy, they're going to have the pick of the litter, so to speak. They're going to pick the top players in the country, and really some of the top players in all of southern Sweden. How was that? Because you're still, was that then the realization that you had that okay, I may not make hockey gymnasium there?
I think I realized pretty early, like during that year of TV-pucken, that Frölunda wasn't the place I was going to be at, because they had like a couple, like probably 6 defensemen ahead of me that were better, and then I'd say a couple of defensemen who was at the same level as me that could have made it as well. But I was looking into maybe moving and like to one of the smaller clubs, and for me and my parents, they didn't want me to move so far away, so it was just looking in the southern parts of Sweden, and I know Troja was a option, Tingsryd, Karlskrona, but I didn't really want to make a move for high school to live out in one of those smaller towns, and I wasn't much sure enough to make that move either. And I said, like, I wanted to stay in Gothenburg and stay with Backen and getting a lot of play time instead of moving to some place and maybe not being able to play so much.
So if we talk about then so you decided to stay home, and but then you had COVID year, right? Was that right about that time?
I think I played like 2 years in Backen, and my last U18 year, COVID hit at the end of that season, I think.
Yeah. So since you're now over here in the US playing, at what point did you start thinking about, okay, what am I going to do after gymnasium?
So after gymnasium, I pretty much knew I wanted to do something with my hockey, because both of my siblings went on exchange years, one to Kenya in Africa, and my brother went over to the States to play some high school hockey for a year, and I wanted to do something similar and take a year to play hockey, but I didn't want to leave right during gymnasium and play shit hockey somewhere in the States. I wanted to play some good hockey. So I made the decision that I was going to look into it, and that's one of the main reason I made the move to Mölndal from Backen, because I wanted to play at the regional level. And by that time Backen was still in the G20 Division 1. So I wanted to play at a higher level to try and maybe find a way to get over to the States.
And there you also had the opportunity to play on the A team or the men's team, split time, practice, which I'm sure helped your development quite a bit.
I was practicing a lot with both teams, and we were struggling with the G20 team to start off, and then we kind of picked it up and had a good year there too. And I developed a lot with maturity and stuff playing with the men's team. Especially defensively, and I had a good coach there who was on me a lot for making harder passes, playing harder, and playing like man more than just the junior type of hockey.
But then 22, 23, did you start off going back to Backen?
I made the move back to Backen
because they moved up.
The reason
they moved back.
They moved back up to regional, and pretty much all my friends from past years play there. And then there was a dispute about signing with the A team in Mölndal, and Backen wanted to sign me, so I made the move to Backen to mainly play for the Division 2 team and to help out with the G20 team. But so the case was so
then you get caught up in the politics of hockey.
It kind of I played I started off that year. It was me and another defenseman in the same position as me in 03, who was also signed to the Division 2 team, the men's team. We both started off the year great. We had some good preseason games, but I think we signed 9 defensemen on that team because they wanted a wide roster, because the year before they had a lot of people hurt and out. I didn't play a lot of games. I was scratched, a healthy scratch, and I got to play in the G20 games. And I felt like I was kind of dominating there as a defenseman. I played, I think, 7 games and had point per game in that league. And by the time fall hit in late October, I know I was kind of pissed at the situation, not getting my opportunities I wanted to get on the men's team. I know now that maybe I wasn't the best defenseman on that team and didn't really deserve to play at that level for that team that year. But I got a call from Potomac Patriots, which I had contact during that summer with, to go over there, and they offered me a scholarship, and I said, why not try it out and go over there for the experience and have some fun with the hockey and make it over. Because I initially didn't want to play Tier 3, mainly because I didn't know much about it, but mainly because it was so expensive at first. But then I got the scholarship, and I said, why not? It's not working out for me right here in Backen at the moment. So I figured, why not try it out? So I went over in beginning of November to USA.
How was that in terms of course, you had a lot of other Swedes on that team, right? I think when I'm looking at that roster, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe, right? Swedes on that.
We were a lot of Swedes on that team, and that was one of the main reasons it was kind of easy decision to make, because I spoke with them before I signed, and got a good feeling of how it was. And it was, of course, easier to go over knowing that you have some fellow Swedes with you on the team and you could talk to, and they tell you pretty much how it is and how things works, and how they're different from Sweden. And I loved it. I loved it there. We had a lot of fun, and the coaches loved us Swedes. So we got special treatment sometimes, which was nice, and we had a blast that year.
So did you billet then?
Yeah. I billeted with the billet coordinator, and I lived with Max Newstrom and Elias Algotsson-Holm.
Okay.
So I got to live with two Swedes on that team, and we got our own. We had a big room upstairs at the top in a pretty nice house out in the woods, and yeah, it was nothing but fun. It was kind of hard to not have your privacy and stuff, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So Potomac, which is outside of DC, did you guys play at the Haymarket? Is that the rink that was your home rink?
No, we played at Prince William's High Center, it's called.
Okay. I've been up there through the years in youth tournaments, and it may have been the youth team, the Potomac's youth hockey teams that play out there in Haymarket. There's like a 3-sheet rink out that way. So I wasn't quite sure, but then you went home over Christmas.
I went home for Christmas. Had my book back, or my flight booked on the way back. I was planning on going back over. Then on the 27th of December, my friend called me up, and my best friend, my all-time friend who plays in Frolunda, he calls me up and says, is it cool if my coach give you a call in like 10 minutes? And I'm like kind of shocked, but I obviously wanted to have the opportunity to go skate with them, and I said yes. And the coach called me up, and he asked me to come skate with him for a couple of days in between on the break, which I did. And he ended the call with saying like, are you going back to the US, or is it maybe possible for you to stay if we need you? And I was pretty sure if I got the opportunity to play for Frolunda, I would do it. So I told him it's probably possible for me to stay. And then I had I was there for like 2-3 days. Then New Year's came, and I didn't really know if I was making that team or not, because the head coach was stuck. Martin Dahlin was stuck in Buffalo during a snowstorm. So I think he came back on the 3rd and watched for just one practice, and the assistant coaches told me after that practice and took me into a meeting with all the coaches, and they said they want me on the team and they need me because they had a lot of defensemen out. And by that point, I just had to call up Josh Scranton in Potomac and tell him what happened. And he was nothing but excited for me and happy that I could play at that level and that they wanted me from Potomac. So he was really, really nice with that, and helping me out a lot with the like transfer and stuff too.
Yeah. Because that's not necessarily that easy, because of having to deal with 2 different hockey associations, Swedish Hockey Federation and then the USA Hockey. And did you have to pay for the transfer fees?
On the way over to Potomac, I didn't have to because they covered that for me, which was really nice. And on the way back, I know Frolunda, I think it's supposed to be like a 10-day wait or something for people coming from USA hockey into Swedish hockey. But because Frolunda had so great connection with the Swedish Ice Hockey Association, they kind of fixed it right away somehow. I don't know, really don't know.
Amazing how that works.
Happened, but
it's amazing.
Yeah.
When you got connections.
Yeah. So I got to play right there on the 6th and 7th. right away. Went with the road trip and played both games, and there I was. So, yeah.
That must have been special because if let's for kicks here, you played with some. Okay, these guys are not yet famous players, right? But there's, when you pull up a roster and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 draft picks on the roster, right?
Yeah.
But then you got the younger boys that are also, I mean, what doesn't show up are the guys that haven't been drafted yet. And there'll be some of these showing up in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I think at least 2 of the 06s that played with us are going to get drafted this summer.
Yeah.
Who
do you think? Let's get your prediction here.
I think Carl Stanner will be drafted. Max Grundström might be drafted, and Måns Thoresson. I think he's gonna get drafted too.
Yeah.
So it's what I think. I don't know much about the upcoming draft year, but I know they're pretty solid players, those 3.
So Kalle Sterner from Grästorp, right? Yep. Which is kind of where Martin Dahlin is from too.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah. So really good player. Played for Västergötland in TV Puck tournament. I think was the star for that, and got a lot of press.
Yeah, I remember my last U16 year. I was playing up with the U18 team in Backen, and we played against Grästorp. And we played against Kalle as an 06, and I was playing up as an 03. So he was really, really young and played in the U18. So I wasn't shocked when I heard he was in Frolunda.
Yep. All right. So you were able. So did you finish the season then with Frölunda?
Yeah, I finished the whole year with them. And as you said, we had a stacked roster. We had a lot of good talent and a lot of great people on that team, and we kind of choked in the playoffs against Rögle, who later got to win it all. So it was a tough loss there in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Who won against which team?
What do you mean?
Who did Rögle win the final against?
I don't even remember.
I think quiz time here. Blue and white.
I think it was Djurgården.
No, nope.
Right? Or was it Leksand?
It was Leksand in the final.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I had to get it in there. I had to get a little Leksand moment in every podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not at all biased. All right, but then all of a sudden you're in a different position. Let's talk about that a little bit, because when you went over and played Tier 3, you're coming from J20 region, and a lot of the people are looking at that, and they don't see. They look at your stats and they say, didn't play J20 national, so we're not interested. You as a player hasn't changed that much from season with Frölunda, but unfortunately that's the way it is. It's a little bit of but all of a sudden now you played at J20 national and you getting attention.
Yeah, and I played for one of the most known of programs in Sweden. I think a lot of people over here knows about Frölunda, and from out of nowhere, I was a guy people wanted to take a look at for once, because I knew I was at one of the better players at the regional level back home, and for sure in Tier 3 too. And then I finally got the break and was able to play at the top level in Sweden for the first time in my life, which was really fun. And now I got some different looks from over the States as well.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, because you have an advisor, and talk about how did that change. So did they handle most of the negotiations and because at the time you want to go now back over there, right? And the conversation is right? Because you still had one more year. No. No, were you done?
I was done with my juniors in Sweden and had one more year over here.
Yeah. So
Uh,
so which teams were interested? Because I'm sure that you got invites to every NAHL camp, the main camps, but you can't go to all of them. And so at what talk about how
yeah,
the tender and draft process from your perspective.
yeah. So I knew a little bit more than most people do because I was already over there and I knew I wanted to go back. And then I hired Scand American as an advisor. He's a guy, Sebastian Granborgs, his name is, and he's a guy who just does this for fun and want to help people out. And he helped me a lot, like with reaching out to different teams and talking to them and helping me out that way.
Yep.
And as you said, I got a lot of invites to main camps and stuff, and that I didn't really want to go to a main camp because if I went to a main camp, I knew a lot of teams just does the money grab and never take a look at you even.
Yeah.
And I had to get my visa before I got over. And if I went to a main camp, I had to go there by most of them are in July, so I had to go over pretty early, and I tried to avoid that as much as possible. And then I had a friend or a teammate in Frolunda who wanted to go over as well, and his advisor was talking with Danbury. And at the day of the draft, he calls me up and says, "Yeah, I think I'm going to get drafted by Danbury." And I asked him like, could you just check with the coach if he's interested in another D-man or in a D-man, and he did, and the coach reached out right away, watched a ton of clips on me that day, and watched through a lot of my U20 national games. And then at that night he called me up and said, "Yeah, we're gonna draft you with Strempel. We really like how you play, and we want to have you on our team for next year." So at the day of the draft, it drastically changed for me. They pretty much told me that they were going to draft me if I wanted to. And at that time, I was having some conversations with the new team, New Hampshire, and going to Maryland's training camp.
Yep.
But I knew Maryland was a good team, and I didn't know if I was going to make that. So I just jumped at the opportunity to get drafted, and they picked me as Alexander Strempel back to back in the NAHL draft, and then we made the decision to go over there, and we didn't have to attend the main camp. We just went right to the training camp, which was nice.
Yeah. So, but there's no guarantee, even if you're drafted, that you're going to be on the opening day roster, or that you're going to make it through training camp, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think all the draft picks that they had from the US had to attend the main camp too.
Yep.
It was just because our visa didn't work that we kind of had to figure that out first.
Yep. So you're like,
so we,
okay, I'm glad that didn't have to
attend that. Yeah.
I mean, if you go to a main camp, it's pretty interesting. Here's 200 players all in one place and trying to fight it out. And, lots can happen. You can stink it up or you can shine. And at the end of the day, it's just there is no, you don't get any, it's just pass or cut.
Yeah.
Just because you tore it up doesn't mean that you now are any better off at training camp. So talk about how it was for you to get to training camp. So now you and your buddy, did you bill it there too in Danbury?
We did a billet. We lived with just one guy who had a really, really old house built in 75. So it was kind of shitty house at first, and we were kind of shocked. He had a big yard and 2 dogs, and used to have like a farm at his yard. And he was kind of odd at first. We got the feeling he was kind of cheap, and he worked a lot. So he left in the morning, came home late at night, worked all day, and then he didn't really buy us stuff to eat. So we had some disputes in the beginning when we first got there with with the food and stuff. And as time went by, things just got better. And me and Strempel both lived there with an American guy named Pierre on the Danbury team.
Yeah.
And we got all of us three just we took our time there and fought it through. And then I think 2 months in, we started to really like it, and the dogs were awesome, and we made it a good place to live in. We had a lot of fun in that house. So and the billet dad was, we were also getting to know him a bit more, and he's a weird character, but such a nice guy, and I really appreciated my time I had there.
So how big of it was that something that you had thought about when you were in Sweden coming over here? And was it all about hockey, but this thing about learning to live with teammates and a billet parent, and yes, it can be awkward and different, but it's about building relationships as well.
Yeah. So I had billet. I was billeting before, so I knew a bit about it. And then we got to know that summer that they made it happen so me and Alexander Strempel could live together. But we had to have an American guy with us with a car, and that ended up being Pierre. And I'd say like I have a lifetime connection with Pierre just now for living with him and all the memories we created during that half year. So
and I guarantee you that goes both ways. He's going to remember, like, yeah, me and two Swedes.
Yeah,
juniors together.
Yeah, that's actually a kind of fun story. Because I got cut from the team in middle of November, and I moved out here to Pennsylvania. And Strempel decided to go home after Christmas or before Christmas and not come back. So me and Strempel had the same flight booked home for Christmas, and Pierre drove us to the airport the day. And when we left the car to say goodbye, he started to cry because we had such a strong relationship from living together, and the experience he got just from having us two Swedes, and how it would differ from him now. It was such an emotional moment, but yeah, it was kind of beautiful at the same time.
That's awesome. I mean,
it is.
That's building relationships and stuff. So yeah, I saw that Strempel was now playing in Mölndal Division 2. But he wasn't cut. I mean, in for Danbury, right?
No, he wasn't. He decided to make the move home. He didn't really like it there, being alone as a Swede, and he figured he'd done the experience, and he decided to move back home.
Yeah. Before, because next thing I want to talk about is kind of, because I think that's important in terms of what are your goals, and a lot of people come over to play just for fun, but there's also the college opportunity, right? But before we go there, or let's go there. Because if you're not going to go to college and you got an opportunity to then go play Division 2 and then try to get up in Hockeyettan in Sweden, which is totally doable if you're a good player versus college. But what's in the cards for you? It's tough just playing for one season to try to earn a scholarship, but still, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, the college route is definitely a good route. Although if you don't make NCAA Division 1, it's gonna cost you.
Yep.
If you don't get the scholarship, which depends, of course. You could find some other scholarship for sure. But for me, I was going over to Danbury. I was still hoping to kind of maybe find a way to get a D1 scholarship if I played really good. Now I maybe realized it's out of reach, and D3 is going to be the option for me. And I mean, the way college works over here is that you could study and play good level of hockey, which you really can't do back home. So that's the thing that's intruding to me, because I want to play at a high level and be able to have a career after my time with hockey, and that's the college route. That's why that's so good for you. But
now you just got to figure out how to pay for it.
yeah, exactly. That's the problem, and I got to figure out if I wanted to like make that sacrifice 4 years over here, or if I just want to go back home and try to make my way up the Swedish system. So I still don't know. It depends on the offers I get and how the school is, and of course the money part as well.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about now from a hockey perspective. How do you compare? Because you played at so many different levels. You played in J20 region in Sweden.
Yep.
You played. So let's compare first J20 region versus J20 national.
Yeah, that's a big jump for sure. And I only played in the top 10 J20 national, so against the top 10 teams, which was all teams were really good. I think every team except 2 teams were SHL clubs.
Yep.
So and the 2 other was Hockeyallsvenskan. So I mean it's faster, it's way more professional, the way the programs are run, and the way you practice. So I'd say it's a big difference between the leagues, both professional wise and skill wise and playing wise.
And Martin Dahlin does not like you going glass out.
No, that's also a thing that's way different from over here. In Frolunda, you're supposed to make pass on the tape and never just
doesn't matter how much pressure.
Away.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much pressure you have.
Yeah,
you have to play yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Icing the puck is not popular in Frölunda.
No, it's not. Sometimes you had to, and sometimes the coaches were okay with it, but mostly they wanted to create some offense directly from the breakout. So it's different from over here for sure.
Yeah. All right. So how do you then compare? Now let's compare USPHL Premier to NCDC to NAHL.
Okay, I'd say USPHL Premier is such a big league. It's such a lot of teams. So the top teams are certainly good. They are at I'd say a good level of G20 regional. But then the bad teams are bad. Some of the teams are not at the same level, and makes the league value go down, I'd say. And that's the thing about NCDC. It's fewer teams now. They open up the West, which I don't know a lot about, but I know it's definitely a step up from Premier, and it's more serious programs, more players who are skilled, and more systems, and it's just faster, more physical, and all around a better league than the Prem. And then I'd say NAHL is another step too. NAHL is even more skilled players, a lot of more D1 commitments, and a league that's like all teams are pretty much good teams there as well. And you have 32 teams in that league right now, so yeah, NAHL is a good place to be.
Yeah. You should reach out to Lucas Carlson, Swedish player that plays in Idaho.
Idaho, yeah.
And played in New Jersey, wasn't getting the playing time. So for the development, he's an 05, but he came over to Idaho, and 5,000 people go to their games. And he came over. Now he has long blonde hair. He's not a small dude. He's 6'2", 200, and got in a fight the first game. And in a small place, it's a pretty cool place to go. Which is a little bit different than than on the East Coast. And all of those teams is pretty impressive because the NCDC teams that were in the USPHL Premier, those are run a little bit differently. And if you look at the staff on the rosters and you know, they're not small budget teams.
No.
You know, you got Pueblo, you got Ogden in Utah, you got some good teams out that way. And it's interesting how that's I have to be honest, I thought that it was gonna be a little bit of a down, but my opinion has changed of NCDC West.
Yeah, I think they start off with a bad reputation from the other DC regions, I guess, or the divisions. But they certainly made a name for themselves, and it's different out there because hockey is pretty much the only thing in each of those towns. So they get a lot of more fans, and I'm sure it would be a blast to play out there, just for the experience and that. But then if you look at it, if you want to go the college route, it's better for you to play in one of the NCDC leagues out east because all the colleges are out here and they will watch you more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's a shame for Swedes that they can't go, you know, for Swedes who are coming over playing NAHL and they want to go to college, it's tough because yes, NCDC is a feeder for NCAA D3, not necessarily a great destination or if you want to play D1, it's a great step to be able to get from NCDC to NAHL to NCAA D1. But if you're comparing, you got the AJ and you got the OJ and you got the CCHL on the Canadian side, that I think are great alternatives if you're right on the edge of NAHL. But Swedes can't play there.
No, I know. I found out that the hard way when I was looking into some options after getting cut from Danbury. I was looking into the Canadians League, and BC is the only league that opened up this year for imports, and that's a step higher than the NAHL, so that wasn't an option either.
Yeah. And then you got some of the other ones. You do have some of the like the GMHL in Canada, but it's more, there's some really good teams in there, but there's a lot of not good teams either. So NCDC, I think, has got a spot, you know, but I see it more as a league of a trampoline to be able to get to, you know, especially for Swedes are coming over. NAHL teams are going to be skeptical, right? They wonder. They wonder, is this kid going to be able to translate to the U.S. game, and having them a year in the NCDC to prove themselves to be able to get into the NAHL is not a bad thing. And I mean, wouldn't you say that it's hard to get used to the style of game too? Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, that's one of the problems for us Swedes, because we end high school kind of late. We can't do the online school or jump ahead a year. It's kind of hard to do that. So you will just have 2 years after high school pretty much to get your name over here and try to make a good team. And if you didn't play in the U20 national back home, you're going to have a tough time to finding your way into the NAHL for sure. If you tore up the U20 regional, you will have a chance, or maybe take a chance just going through main camp and training camp and make the team that way. But they're pretty defensive with their tenders and draft picks, especially drafting across the border.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to, if you're comparing yourself to a draft pick or a tender versus a free agent at main camp, you have to be better. You can't be the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. You will always have a better and easier way to make the team if they know who you are before you got to the camp, for sure.
Yep. So what's the next chapter here? You got the rest of the regular season in Scranton, but you could also get called back up in the NAHL is still an option,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if my resume from the year right now is bringing me back to the NAHL, but if it happens, it would be fun to end up in the NAHL for this year. But I'm just focusing on finishing out the season here right now.
Yeah, and then we'll see if you're going to be in the NCAA. We may see as one of these social media pops up says Angelin commit.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Gustavus University in Minnesota, maybe. Gustavus
maybe.
Adolphus. There is a Swedish college, D3 college, Gustavus Adolphus in Minnesota.
Oh, there is. Oh,
yeah.
There
I think
you go.
they're D3. I think they're D3.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing here to round it out. You met yourself. What are you, 20 now or 19?
20.
You met yourself at 17. We always do this. You get a year wiser every year, but you met yourself at 17. What advice would you give yourself that you didn't know back then that you know now?
For sure, something in the lines of trying to be tougher mentally, trying to not think stuff over too much, and just accept them for how they are and the way things work, and try to trust yourself and how good you are. Pretty much, that's what I would tell myself for sure.
That's good advice. All right, last thing, the team in my heart through Target Aid here, we talked about a little bit earlier. I got a feeling I know which one it is.
Yeah, and it's always going to be the same, and it always has been the same. It's going to be Backen.
Yeah,
I grew up there, and it's my team, and I had such many good memories from that team, and we had a great 03s as well. A lot of guys who's still playing to this day, and I'd say I'm a Backen guy.
Yeah, I was gonna hope my son's playing Backen tomorrow. In
Sweden.
Yeah. So the bad thing about you have to tell the guys in Backen, it's unfortunate they don't have. It's Gothenburg politics because Swedish Hockey TV does not air their games. It's really crappy. So if they're playing in Backen, you can't watch it.
I think it was because of the St. Boder drivers or something like that getting shown during the intermission, something silly like that. I don't know.
It's a privacy. It's a city of Gothenburg privacy issue that is causing them not to be able to. There's very strict privacy rules. So, for example, so because of that, it really sucks because you can't. It's hard for the players to get exposure because they can't be on Swedish Hockey TV, which means it won't be on Instat and other platforms. And for me, who likes to watch, keep in touch when I'm here in the U.S., it really stinks. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hear you.
So,
that's that.
But here's what we're going to do with Target Aid. We're going to make sure that it's really an opportunity for teams to be able to use it for content and build. And I think it's a cool story. Here you have a Backen guy that is having a time of his life in the U.S. playing juniors, but his heart is still in Backen, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Marius, thank you I almost went to Swedish there, but thank you for jumping on. And it's been fun, educational, and hopefully the people that are listening learn a few things about the path, the different levels, and the different experiences that you've gone through to pass along to others.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast going through all this and my hockey history and whatever. So,
yep,
thank you.